Well, hello, students and parents, and welcome to driver education class. My name is Mr. Smith, and I'm excited to be your teacher as we journey through this topic and coursework of driver education. I know that with driver education, it's both exciting and a little bit intimidating. You know, here you're on this journey to get your driver's license and first to get your learner's permit, and you're probably going to have all sorts of questions along the way. And I want you to know that I'm here to answer those questions for you and help you out. I don't want you to be nervous about this. You're going to do great. Okay. So what our goal today is to introduce you to the coursework, to what we're going to be covering over these next 9 weeks, and also what we're going to be covering as we move from the classroom phase of driver education into the behind the wheel phase of driver education. So what I've done is I've prepared an informational handout for you, and we're going to go through this informational handout today and cover the information and kind of give you an introduction to what driver education class is. So here at Staunton High School, and this is true, it doesn't matter whether you're at Staunton High School or whether you're at any other Illinois school. The state of Illinois has guidelines for us of what is required in a driver education class. And so in Illinois, if you want to get a driver's license prior to the age of 18, which I'm guessing most of you do, right? I mean, you want to get your license whenever you're 16. So if you want to get a driver's license prior to the age of 18, the state of Illinois says that you have to complete an approved driver education program. And I've got good news for you. The program here at Staunton High School is approved. So you're already in an approved driver education program. To be eligible to enroll in driver education, students have to have passed 8 semester hours of coursework over the previous 2 semesters. That most likely applies to you, otherwise you wouldn't be in this course. But what that says is over the last 2 semesters, so for you guys that are freshmen, that would mean the 2 semesters of your 8th grade year. For those 2, for your 8th grade year, you had to pass a total of 8 semesters. Get my hands in the screen here. 8 semesters or 8 classes. Could be 4 classes first semester, 4 classes second semester. Could be 5 one semester, 3 another. Doesn't really matter as long as you pass a total of 8 semester hours of coursework at some point over the previous 2 semesters. So for most of you, that's no problem at all. But for some of you, you might have cut that close. And so that's a requirement to even get into driver education class. Okay. So what all has to be in that approved driver education program? Well, Illinois School Code, which I've got referenced down here below in italics, Illinois School Code says that each student must complete 30 hours of classroom instruction. Okay, each student must complete 30 hours of classroom instruction. So in a normal school year, that's not a problem. We gain way more than 30 hours. We're usually upwards of 40 hours of classroom instruction. But currently, we have shortened class periods. And this school year, we only have 40-minute class periods. And that means that it takes a full 9 weeks or 45 days of instruction to meet that requirement. So that means no missing work is allowed. You notice here, the school code says that you must complete 30 hours of classroom instruction. It doesn't just say that the class has to be 30 hours. It says you have to complete 30 hours of classroom instruction. So that means that you have to do your work. If you don't do your work, you'll be dropped from the class. And we'll talk about that more in a second. All coursework must be completed to earn credit for successful completion of classroom driver education. So if we look at the actual code here and what it says, the course of instruction required of each eligible student at the high school level shall consist of a minimum of 30 clock hours of instruction and a minimum of 6 hours of behind the wheel. Now, we'll get to that behind the wheel in a little bit. Now, second quarter, if you are a second quarter student, so not first 9 weeks, not third 9 weeks, not fourth 9 weeks, but second 9 weeks, the way our school calendar works out this year is that second quarter doesn't have a full 45 days. We've got a few institute days. We've got parent-teacher conferences. We've got Thanksgiving holiday. We've got Christmas that cuts into our days. So instead of 45 days, we only have 37 days of instruction during second quarter. That means that you're going to have to do some work outside of class to get to the 30 hours. So, we're not in jeopardy of no longer being an approved program. We're going to make sure that we meet those requirements. But you just need to know whether you're an in-person learner or whether you're a remote learner, there's going to be some work outside of the normal school day. So I'm just letting you know that right up front, okay? But don't worry, you'll still meet all the requirements for driver education. So that means we're going to have some coursework that will be assigned on days where we don't have school. Now, I won't ever assign anything on a Saturday or a Sunday or like a holiday like Thanksgiving or something like that. But some of the days where maybe when we have parent-teacher conferences or when we have a teacher institute, there'll be some work that you guys need to complete at home. At any point, if a student, so here's that I referenced earlier where I said, if you don't get your work done, you'll be dropped from the course. So let me be very specific about what that means. At any point, if a student, whether you're an in-person student or a remote student, if at any point you fall behind in the required coursework in driver education, you'll be given a warning. I'll contact you and you will be warned and say, hey, you're falling behind in your coursework. You need to get that made up. You'll have 1 week to get any missing work caught up. If you don't complete that missing work, then you'll be dropped from the class and re-enrolled in a later quarter. So if we're talking about second quarter, you might be re-enrolled in third quarter, you might be re-enrolled in fourth quarter. But remember, okay, this is really important right here. Remember, if you get dropped from class, if you get dropped from second quarter class, and then we go to re-enroll you in third quarter, you have to have passed 8 semester hours of coursework over the previous 2 semesters. So if you've been failing all of your classes during the first semester of this school year, and you don't have enough classes from the last semester of your 8th grade year, you're not going to be eligible to enroll in driver education. So keep that in mind. This is your opportunity right here. This class that you're in right now, this is your opportunity to get the things done that you need to get done to qualify to get your instruction permit and your driver's license. So don't squander that opportunity. So if you have any questions about that, please don't hesitate to let me know, okay? So that's the classroom portion. Now, I know that we haven't talked really much about what kind of things we're going to talk about in class, but those are the clock hour requirements. You got to have 30 hours of classroom instruction. We're going to get that done. So what about the rest? Well, once you get your permit, I'm right here on this bullet point here. Once you get your instruction permit, you have to complete 50 hours of practice driving. 10 of those 50, so not a total of 60, still a total of 50, but 10 of those 50 have to be at night. And the way the state defines nighttime is from the time the sun goes down to the time the sun comes up. From the time the sun goes down to the time the sun comes up. They call that dusk to dawn. And that's driving that you do with a parent or other responsible adult. And that responsible adult or parent has to be at least 21 years old and have a valid license for at least a year. So those are the practice hours you do at home. Then you also do driving with us at school. And when I say with us, I just am referencing the school in general, but specifically it'll be with me. I'm the driver's ed teacher. So you have to complete 6 hours of behind the wheel driving with me at the school. In addition to that, you have to complete 6 hours of observation with me at the school. So you do this at the same time. And how this works is when you are doing your behind the wheel portion of driver's ed, currently we have 40-minute class periods. So you'll drive for 20 minutes and then you'll ride along and observe for 20 minutes while another student is driving. So there's always 2 students in the car plus me, the teacher. And you'll drive for 20 minutes, and then the other student will drive for 20 minutes. And so when you are the driver, you're doing just that. You're driving, and I'm giving you instruction on what to do. And we're working on different skills like parking or interstate driving. And then when you are the observer, you're in the back seat and you're watching, you're observing, and you're learning from what's going well, and you're learning from what can be corrected. You are not in the back seat on your phone playing games or doing Snapchat or whatever. Okay, that's not what observation is. You're in the back seat and you're observing. So those are the 6 hours. Sorry, I've got the wrong thing highlighted here, but those are the 6 hours of driving and 6 hours of observation. Now, parents, hey, parents and guardians, listen up. This is one of my favorite things for you guys and one of the students' least favorite things. So I should have said this right from the start, but it's really important for you students to understand driving is a privilege. It is not a right. Just because you turn 16 doesn't mean you have the right to drive. You are given the privilege to drive by several people. One is by the state of Illinois. I know that's not a person, it's an entity, but the state of Illinois might grant you the privilege to drive if you meet certain requirements. Requirements like passing driver education, requirements like passing at least 8 semester hours over the previous 2 semesters of school. So those are things that you have to do. So the state of Illinois might grant you the privilege. Someone else that has to grant you the privilege to drive is your parents. Your parent or guardian has to sign off for you to be able to drive. If they don't think you're ready to drive, you don't get to drive. Okay? And at any time until you turn 18, so prior to the age of 18, your parent or guardian can take away that privilege. They can ground you from your driver's license. They can flat out revoke your driver's license. All they have to do is contact the Secretary of State, and they have permission to just cut your driver's license up. Okay? So you guys need to be aware of that. If you're ever not nice to your parents, you better start being nice to your parents, okay? Because they control your driver's license, quite literally. So as we said, you've got the 6 hours of driving that you have to do with me. And as I mentioned already, those 6 hours, at least this year, are broken up into 40-minute sessions, which means that you do 20 minutes of driving and 20 minutes of observation. Now, if you do the math there, to get 6 hours when you're doing it 20 minutes at a time means that it's going to take you 18 sessions. So 18 sessions will get you 6 hours. So that's what you'll do. You'll do 18 sessions with me in the driver's ed car. And we've got very specific things that we work on, and we'll talk about that at a later date. Okay. The office does the scheduling for the behind the wheel sessions. I don't schedule that. The office schedules it, and they'll contact you and let you know when you are scheduled to drive. For you guys, it's going to be a while. We're still working on students from last year and working on students from the previous quarter. So for you guys, it'll be a little while, but just know the office will contact you when it's your turn to drive. Now, if you get within like 2 or 3 months of your birthday, of turning 16, you're going to turn 16 in a few months and the office still hasn't contacted you, let me know. Don't bug the office about it, but just let me know. Email me or send me a message on Schoology and I'll check into it. Okay. We certainly don't want anyone missing getting their license on the birthday because their name just kind of fell through the cracks. So please don't hesitate to contact me if you're getting close to your birthday and you haven't been scheduled to drive yet. But on that same token, don't contact me or the office just because, Johnny is scheduled to drive and his birthday is a month after yours. Well, we don't just go by birthday because it's more complicated than that. It's based on what your schedule is. It's based on when I'm available. So there may be other students that are maybe a little bit younger than you that get to drive before you do. And that's okay. because it's more complicated than that. So it might just be that it doesn't work with your class schedule right then. But again, we don't want you missing your license on your birthday. So if you get close to your birthday, about 3 months out or something, and you haven't heard from the office, let me know and we'll get it taken care of. Okay. We don't want anybody missing getting their license on the birthday. All right. So you guys are in driver education class. And one of the things that happens during driver education class is that you get your permit. You get your instruction permit, also known as a learner's permit. Your parents might refer to it as a white slip because that's what we called it back in our day. You had a white slip and a blue slip. Now we just call it a learner's permit or an instruction permit. To be eligible to get that permit, you have to be 15 years of age. So a lot of you might only be 14 as you start this class, and that's fine. You can be in the class at 14 years of age. You won't be able to get your permit until you turn 15. So in addition to being 15 years of age, you also have to pass 2 tests. You got to pass the state written exam, which you'll take on your Chromebooks at the school, whether you're in person or whether you're remote. You're going to take that test at the school. If you're an in-person learner, you'll take it during class. If you're a remote student, we will set up a special time for where you can come in and be socially distanced and take that permit exam. You also have to take the vision test. If you're a remote learner, you'll take the vision test on the same day as the permit test. That way you only have to come in once. If you are a in-person learner, we'll take those tests on different days because it's just easier for me to facilitate that way. So you got to pass both of those tests. For the vision test, make sure if you're a contacts or a glasses wearer, make sure that your prescription is up to date. The easiest way to do that is, you should be able to know whether you see very well now or not. So if you can read things across the room, signs on the wall or whatever that the case might be, if when you're driving around with your parents and you're riding along, you can kind of test your vision against theirs and see when they can read a road sign compared to when you can read a road sign. But make sure that your vision is good enough that you feel like confident that you're going to pass the test. Okay. If not, if you haven't been to the eye doctor in a while, get that appointment scheduled now. To get your permit, you got to be 15, you got to pass both of those 2 tests, and you have to be enrolled in classroom driver education, which you are, or you wouldn't be watching this video. And then if all of those things occur, you're going to have to pay $20 to the Secretary of State. This money does not go to the school. It goes to the driver services facility. It's the fee charged by the Secretary of State. And we'll talk more about this as we get closer to that time, but I just wanted to let you know that there will be a fee to get your permit. And that fee, by the way, also covers your very first driver's license. So this $20 fee covers the permit and covers whenever you turn 16 to go get your driver's license. You don't have to pay again. You're also going to need to be able to produce identification. The identification that you need to be able to produce is your official birth certificate. This is not the commemorative one from the hospital that has your little footprint on it. That's not it, okay? This is the official one from the county that you were born in, okay? And it should have the county seal on it, a little stamp or raised portion of the paper on it. If you don't have that, start working on getting it now. And also your Social Security card. And then the state also asks that you produce proof of address. And I have a link right down here. And so you guys, this document is available to you. You guys can click on this link too. And that shows you all of the things that can qualify for acceptable identification for a first-time driver's license applicant. That's what you guys are. Even though you're getting your permit, the state considers you a first-time driver's license applicant. So that's getting your permit. Then when you go to get your license, obviously you've got to be 16 years of age to get your license. And in addition to being 16, you also have to have a valid permit. And you're going to get your permit during this class, but in addition to having that permit, you have to have the permit for 9 months. So for those of you that have just turned 15 or haven't quite turned 15 yet, you're fine. But if you turned 15 a while ago and you still don't have your permit, then whatever date you get your permit, whenever that permit is issued, a 9-month clock starts then, and you can't get your license until those 9 months are up. So you may not get your license right on your 16th birthday. You might have to wait a little bit. So you got to be 16. You got to have a valid permit for 9 months, and you can't get any tickets while you're driving during those 9 months. If you do, those 9 months start over. And then you have to complete both portions of driver ed. You got to do the classroom, which you're in now, and you got to complete the behind the wheel. And there's a third test that you have to complete. We already did the vision. We already did the written. Now you've got to pass a driving test to show that you actually know how to drive. There's no driving test when you get your permit. That's literally the purpose of the permit, is to let you learn how to drive. But to get your license, you've got to prove that you can drive successfully and safely on your own without adult help. If you get an A or a B in the class, and you get an A or a B, the equivalent of an A or a B in the behind the wheel, you can take your test with me. You'll take your driving test at the school with me. If you don't meet those requirements, that doesn't keep you from getting your driver's license. As long as you pass the class, and as long as you pass behind the wheel, even if it's with a D, as long as you pass both portions, you're still eligible to go get your driver's license. You just have to do the driving test at the driver services facility with one of the employees there. Even if you take your test with me, there's still a chance you might have to drive when you go to get your driver's license. The state does 3 spot check days every month where everybody that comes in has to do a driving test. And so if you happen to be there on a spot check day, you'll do the driving test with them. But it won't be any problem, because if you've made it to that point, you're a good driver and you're going to be just fine. Okay. But like I said, if you get an A or a B in both portions, you'll do your driving test with me. And then whenever you go get your license, as long as it's not a spot check day, you'll just smile real pretty for the camera, and they'll take your picture and they'll send you a driver's license in the mail. You'll get a temporary license that day, and then they'll send you the real thing in the mail. So we've gone over a lot of information already. You might be wondering, well, okay, what should I be doing now? Well, whether you're a child or whether you're a parent, make sure that you've got that official birth certificate and social security card. Make sure that you know where these things are. Have your child's vision checked and glasses updated, contacts updated if needed. Okay, if you just had this done not that long ago, then don't worry about it. But if it's been a while, you might want to go ahead and get that appointment scheduled. And then there's a fantastic website that the Secretary of State's office has called cyberdriveillinois.com, and it's got all sorts of information on there for you that is driver's ed related or just general driving related, not specifically to driver's ed, but it's even got good stuff for you adults out there too. If you've got questions about, vehicle registration or new traffic laws or any of that kind of stuff, or even, what's the phone number to the driver services facility in Carlinville. And then also, if you have questions, you can always email me or call me at the school or send me a message on Schoology. Any of those things will work just fine. Okay, so you can email me, jsmith@stauntonschools.org, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you have. So I hope this has been helpful to you. I hope this has answered some of those questions already, and it sure has been nice to talk to you over the video here, and hopefully I'll get to meet you soon face to face. All right, thanks for tuning in today. We'll see you.